Hello and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. So today's topic is mindset, and the title is he talking about me? So over the time of doing these podcasts, I believe I'm up to 408 today. I have definitely had people come up and kind of jokingly and or accusingly, like not necessarily a fun joke way, but they've come up and said, "Were you talking about me?" And sometimes it was in like giving an example of someone's behaviors that maybe weren't the best for health and or like fitness, exercise, that kind of stuff. And they were wondering if I was like singling them out. It's not really ever been like super mad, like somebody's been mad so far, but they're like, "Oh geez, what the hell, man?" Like I knew that was about me. And my answer has been so far kind of consistent, and I'm trying to keep it just the same because it makes it easier for me. And the answer is, if you think so, then yes. So sometimes these podcasts have absolutely been inspired by a person, either a direct conversation I've had with them or seeing behaviors in their life that are detrimental towards their goals, and seeing it as a universal thing, like many other people are making the same mistake. So it's a good idea, in my opinion, to address it in a podcast if it's something that a lot of people are doing quote unquote wrong. So it's helpful then to raise awareness of other people who I don't have a chance to see in person or see in the gym or something like that. And maybe they can hear that advice and reflect into their own life and think that maybe they need to make that change as well. So it can possibly save them from the similar kind of fate of the mistake. So when we hear words that challenge us, that expose something about us, they can definitely be hard to accept. And we usually respond defensively and with denial, kind of like, "Oh, that's not true. I do da 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 da, or whatever, blah, 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 blah." Or the worst thing ever is to throw it back at somebody else. So if they say something about you and you're like, "Yeah, well, you do da 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 da," that's dumb, because whatever they said about you is still true. Or not. I mean, you're not really addressing the thing they said, you're just adding an insult on top of them. So it's a bad character trait of human beings in general that when we feel insulted, we insult right back. And like, for example, people say like say they do something mean to someone and they're like, "Yeah, well, they did this, this, this. So they did something first, quote unquote." That is insanely stupid as a reason for why you would have poor character. Just because someone else showed poor character, why the hell would you show poor character? I don't know. To me, that's stupid, absolutely stupid. Because I don't understand that. Like, I still have to. Maybe I'll have to make a podcast about that someday when I ever understand it. But if somebody showed a negative thing about themselves, why would you do the same thing if you knew it was negative? So that phrase, like, if your friend jumped off a bridge, would you too? So if somebody murdered somebody, or then like you're gonna murder somebody, so if somebody says something mean to you, and you just say something mean back, you're just as bad as they were. So that's always kind of ridiculous to me. So that's usually how we respond, though, is very defensively and with denial. But what if, when we heard something that challenges us, when we hear something that maybe exposes something about ourselves that we don't like, okay, to hear, if we hear something that makes us think, is he talking about me? What if we look at those situations with an open mindset? So, I've said it before that what got me kind of started in fitness and exercise was, it was my 15th birthday and I was joking around with a friend at school, and we were kind of teasing each other, and he said, "At least I'm not fat." And I remember kind of at the time, I kind of like stopped the joking in the playing, and I was like, "Well, damn, I don't like that." So I was like, I don't like being called it, but what really like kind of shook me in the sense of like what sparked the change in me was I knew it was true. So he said it, But it wasn't his fault for saying it. It was my fault for allowing it to be something that could be said. So, for example, if I was like chiseled with six-pack abs, there's no way he could have said, well, at least I'm not fat. We'd have all just looked at him and been like, what the hell are you talking about, dude? You know? So, but when he said, well, at least I'm not fat, and I'm like, well, damn, like I am fat. So I don't like the fact that he can insult me with something that I allowed to be true of myself. So I took responsibility for it and I changed it. And there have been other reasons, like that hasn't been the only thing that's fueled me for 20 years of lifting. But that was definitely the thing that kind of got me started. Like I went home and, kind of made a commitment to try doing 250 push-ups and 250 sit-ups every night, which was ridiculous because I could barely do 10 push-ups at the time. But I got it done. I did pretty well. So for the whole year from 15 to 16, I only missed 10 days. But that was the thing that kind of got me started. And what I liked about myself that I didn't do intentionally at the time, but I'm now doing intentionally as an adult, is I didn't blame him for saying it. It wasn't his fault. It was my fault. Because I'm the one that allowed that to be true. If it's something I didn't like, okay, like if I wouldn't want to be called lazy, then if somebody calls me that because they look at my life, and them calling me lazy seems like it's true to them, then it's my fault for living a lazy life if I don't like to be called that. So if I don't like to be told something about myself, then it's my fault that I'm allowing it to have been said, if that makes sense. So we'll go through this a little bit further down in detail, but when people say things directly to us, okay, when they kind of either say it as a joke or they say it as an insult or they say it just as a general observation, when people say things directly to us, we don't have to correct it, okay? We live by our own standards, not theirs. We don't have to try to please everybody. There's in no way are we responsible to other people to live in a manner that they would approve of. Bullshit. We have to approve of our own lives. So it's whatever that we feel is our standard is what we live to. But when people do say things to us, it can offer us an insight into what might be a blind spot for us. Something that we don't see in ourselves. Something we've rationalized away for years and years and years, or excused away for years and years and years. And we're so convinced in our bullshit, basically, that we don't see it. But when they say it, we automatically don't like it. It's one of those things like as soon as they say it, you're like, ugh, and you just want to like punch them in the face. So those are usually our blind spots, things that we've kind of protected ourselves from seeing because we didn't like it. So when they say it, that exposes that again to us, and that's why we get defensive. But if we look at this, what people say, as insight into our life, maybe insight into our blind spots, if we look at it with an open mind, it may be an opportunity to change. It's not an obligation to change, but it could be an opportunity. So, I have a couple friends in my life, and one in particular, because he's the guy we kind of created this with, is I have the quote, the smelly kid in class, like we all kind of know the one kid in class that kind of stunk, but like nobody wanted to be that kid, if that makes sense. So like I always have a quote I use called basically it's like crazy people don't know they're crazy. So if you've ever met somebody who's just a little bit off the rocker, they usually have no freaking clue they're crazy. So they're so crazy they're unaware of they're crazy. And that's like the smelly kid in class. So I apologize to anybody that was the smelly kid, by the way. So, and it's always one of those jokes, like if you can't name who the smelly kid was, it's probably you. So, but there's always one kid that's like, some BO issues or, and sometimes they just can't afford it and they don't know any better. So I hate to be like too negative, but let's just go with the concept of it, okay? Is no one wants to be the smelly kid in class, meaning we don't want to have something that everybody else can smell or see in us, but we're oblivious to, okay? So I have a couple friends of mine who, if they see me doing something smelly, they are 1,000,000% welcome to tell me. And I hope that they tell me because that's part of our friendship. Because I don't want to be the smelly kid in class, and they don't want to be the smelly kid in class. So we tell each other whenever we're kind of stinking up the room. So, so if there's any habits we have in life that they know isn't where we want to be, they know that it isn't up to the standard that we've voiced to them before. So that's kind of one thing you'd have to start with if you want to have a smelly kid friend is you have to voice what your standards are. And often if you're great friends, you're already going to kind of have an idea of that kind of stuff. But they have specific, like they have permission to tell me anything in my life that they think is taking me off track. And I love, 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 love that idea because all of us, including myself, because I'm not special, all of us have blind spots. All of us have things that maybe at one point in time we were aware of and we knew we should change, but there were obstacles in the way to change. Maybe we just didn't want to have to work that hard, or we saw someone or something else as preventative to our ability to change. So I was hearing somebody the other day in the gym, and they were talking to someone else, and the general phrase was, well, whenever they change, I'll change. And I got like immediately annoyed and had to walk away because that was the dumbest damn thing I could hear, because you're giving control of your life to that other person, which is absolute bullshit and stupid. So you need to control your own damn life regardless of what that person does. I don't even know what the hell they were talking about. I just hate that statement. So can't, it drove me nuts. So I had to walk away. But that's what helpful when we have a smelly kid friend is they can hold us accountable for the things that we are doing in our life that maybe aren't up to the standard that they know we want to live. So do you have someone like that? And if you don't, I definitely think you should, because it's very, very helpful. So my smelly kid friends have told me things that maybe weren't like the worst things in the world, but they've told me things. So I'll give you one example, all you podcast listeners, is for a period of time, about 2.5 weeks, I was trying to get up really early in the morning and do my podcast right away. Kind of like the concept of like eat the frog first. So what was the most important thing of the day to me was to get these podcasts done. So if I got up early and I did them before everybody else was awake and before the world got in my way, I know I could have it done. The problem is I was yawning all the time. And I still yawn every now and then because I have horrible sleep quality due to some medical issues and whatnot. But I was yawning a lot at that time, trying to do those podcasts. And one of my smelly kid friends who listens to the podcast said, dude, you're yawning too much. You have to quit yawning. So I love it because he genuinely wanted to tell me that because it was reducing the quality of the podcast. And that is something that I can control. It's something that doesn't change who I am, but it does improve my message or the way I present myself to the world. So I had to rearrange some things, and I am now doing the podcast at times that hopefully will promote me not to yawn as much. So, but that's what it's helpful to hear that. So I was doing the podcast at a certain time of the day that was a very useful time of my day. It was something I was proud of trying to do nice and early. It was something that was a positive in my mind. And then hearing somebody give you like a negative feedback can sometimes that can be discouraging. And you're like, oh, what the hell? I made this change to have this thing in the morning. I'm trying to do this for everybody else. You can have all these kind of emotions, but it's super helpful when people tell you that, like tell you the smelly kid stuff, because regardless of why you're doing what you do, you still smell. Okay? Just like I talk all the time is, if you miss a workout, it doesn't matter why you missed it. No one gives a shit. Your body doesn't give a shit. I don't care. So I don't want to hear it. If you miss a workout, you will not get results from a workout you don't do. You will not get results from a diet you don't follow. So the only reason to be aware of why you miss details is to try to correct them and change them in the future. So if I missed a workout, it's important that I'm aware of it, of why, so maybe I can adjust that and correct it in the future. But just simply being aware of the why you missed it, like having your quote unquote excuse, doesn't mean shit. It means absolutely nothing. Because you did nothing, therefore you will get nothing. If you miss your workout, you get no results. The only point in having an excuse or being aware of why you missed it is so you don't do that again. So if you have the same excuse every day, you're an idiot. Change what you're doing. Okay? We kind of know this, but we don't seem to hold ourselves accountable to it all the time, myself included. So if we have a continual excuse that shows that, like obviously me saying we're an idiot, like myself included here, is not the most eloquent way of saying it. Okay? But if you've repeatedly done something, like say you miss a workout every day after work because you get home, you take the dogs out, you do what you got to do, and then you're just tired, so you just sit at the house and you end up not going to the gym. Well, if you've done that more than once, you're an idiot. What the hell are you doing about it? Are you going to take your clothes to work so that way you can work out after work before you get home? You're going to say, but I got to take the dogs out. Okay, well, can you maybe work out midday? Can you work out before work? Are the dogs really going to die if they spend 35 extra or 40 extra minutes in a kennel that they've been, a crate or whatever, that they've already spent 8 hours a day in? So remember, you're in charge of your life. You get to make the decisions. You're either deciding not to make the decisions, or you're making the wrong decisions, or you're making the right decisions. That's kind of the way we do things. So you either do the right thing or you don't. That's it. So that's what having the smelly kid friend can do for you, is to help call you out on your bullshit, basically, and help you stay the course of what you have voiced was your kind of best life. The quality and standards that you want to uphold, your smelly kid friend can help. So, do you have someone like that in your life? If not, go get them. Are you even open to having somebody like that in your life? If not, I definitely suggest you should be. Okay? So be open-minded to what people say about you, but remember, it's still your choice if you want to change or not. So be yourself, be true to yourself, but also try to be the best version of yourself. And that's what sometimes when people tell us things can help us do. It can help us be more aware of the things that might be holding us back. So, if you ever think someone is talking about you, okay, or are they talking about me, if you ever ask yourself that, or if they're staring directly at your face and clearly they're talking to you, be open-minded. So ask yourself, are there actions or words in my life that would make what they're saying true? So if it's something you don't like being said about you, before you get defensive, before you put up your guard and say all the bullshit stuff we want to say that doesn't allow us to change, okay, stop and ask yourself, of what they're saying, are there things I do in my life, are there things I say in my life that would allow that statement to be true? If yes, am I okay with that? Am I okay with that thing being true? Does that thing being true align with who I want to be? If the answer is no, then change it. So how do you change it? You define a corrective goal. So, and I'm going to talk through some examples here in a second. But you define a corrective goal. You create daily tasks or just very highly repeatable short-term tasks. Then you track your adherence to those tasks. And then you can recheck if possible and see if that thing is still true about you. So you can change anything you want about yourself. Or you can keep anything you want about yourself to remain the same. It's your choice. So when I was younger, I had a lot of anger issues. So, and this would be like when I was kind of like early teens and whatnot. I'd get in a fight with my brother and say some mean things. Or I'd get mad and punch a hole in the wall and have to learn how to do drywall and spackle. So there were just various times where I was not very good at handling my emotion. So that's something that as I got older, I didn't like about myself because I didn't like the sensation of losing control. And I didn't like the fact that the words I'd said, sometimes I didn't really mean them, but the pain they caused absolutely was real. And I felt guilty, felt bad, but I could never take that away. So once you say the words, you can't get them back. So there was a sermon I'd heard back at that time when I was around that age, and it was a guy said like, a guy's kind of feeling guilty about some things he said around people around town, and he goes to his pastor, and you don't even have to be religious for this story to make sense. So, but he goes to his pastor and he says, "Hey, you know what? I'm kind of feeling pretty bad about things I've been saying. I want to correct this. I want to change this. What can I do?" And the pastor says, "Okay, well, you're a farmer, so I want you to go to your farm. I want you to pluck a feather from the chicken for every bad word you've ever said. Well, look, every person you've hurt. So not every bad word. Poor chickens would be no feathers. But so pluck a feather from a chicken for every person you've said something negative about. And I want you to take a feather and put it on their doorstep. Okay? So go up to the front door, put it on their doormat or doorstep, and that'll symbolize that you are trying to apologize and kind of correct the words that you've said to that person." So the farmer does it. He plucks the feathers, goes around the neighborhood, puts feathers everywhere, comes back to the pastor and says, "Okay, I did the feather thing. Like, is that good? Like, or do I have anything else to do?" And the pastor says, "Okay, I want you to go now collect those feathers." And the farmer looks at me, he's like, "What the hell? Like, I put those out hours ago. Like, the wind's going to have blown them everywhere. I have no clue where they'll be." And the pastor said, kind of like, "That's the point, man." so once the words leave your mouth, you can't get them back. Just like once you put that feather on that doorstep and the wind started taking it away, you can't get that back. So it really struck me as to be very careful with the words I spoke, because the effects that they had were things that I may not be able to correct or excuse or explain away. So in a moment of anger, if I said something mean to someone, I don't get to take that hurt back. I can maybe apologize. I can follow up with an apology with actions and never doing it again, okay, to show that I really did truly care. But I'll never be able to take that initial hurt, that initial pain away. And I can't stand the idea of hurting people in that way. So that was something that really stuck with me, and it's something that I've tried to change in myself. So my corrective goal is to not say words out of anger. My kind of way of kind of controlling that, so like my daily task, for example, is I have like kind of a 24-hour rule. So if I'm super pissed off about something and I want to tell somebody where they can, stick it, I'll give myself 24 hours before I make a comment, whether it's, in person, text, email, whatever. But before I communicate, I just kind of shut down for a little bit, take some time to think. Sometimes it doesn't take 24 hours. Sometimes it takes an hour or two, and you already kind of settled down. You figured out how to do it, address it. But I give myself time rather than saying things right away. So that was my daily task. Then tracking my adherence to the task is, am I following my rule? Am I following my own rule? And I do well with that now. So anytime I've messed up that rule when I was younger, it always came back to bite me in the butt. So I've had a couple of times where I didn't wait 24 hours, said some things that maybe weren't as bad as the initial things I wanted to say, but they still weren't well thought out and voiced in a manner of love and trying to get understanding of a situation. They were more kind of like defensive, denial, kind of insulting, those kind of words, and never felt good. So that's what I'm trying to do with that, and I've done pretty good at that. So another thing I've always tried to get rid of in my life is laziness. So I was pretty lazy when I was younger. So I used to play a lot of video games, never really wanted to go outside, never really wanted to help around the house with chores and stuff until I was kind of forced to. And now one of the things I've done to kind of fight that is to challenge myself. So a corrective goal I had to fight laziness was, can I create acts of discipline for myself and follow through with them? So that's one of the first reasons why I ever started doing diets, was I wanted to make myself mentally tough. So I'd say to myself is, and unfortunately I started when I was younger, I was anorexic. So I'd be like, can I eat nothing today? So if I feel fat and I want to get rid of fat, I'm just going to eat nothing. Now this is way before I really understood nutrition. But that's what I did, is I started creating mental discipline tasks to see if I could fight laziness. So I've also said before that I would do bicep curls with an easy curl bar. I'd put a weight on and I'd say, you know what, I'm going to do this until the bar physically falls out of my hands. I'm not going to quit by choice. I'm not going to put this bar down by choice. I'm going to go until my arms rip off or my hands fall open. And I would curl literally until I couldn't hold the bar. So my hands would get so cramped with blood and water that my hand would physically not be able to hold the bar anymore, and I'd end up dropping the bar. But that's what taught me mental discipline to not be lazy. Taught me the mental discipline to get up for work, to follow through with the tasks that I promised people I would follow through with. Now, I still have relapses and make mistakes here and there, of course, but I'm a hell of a lot better off than I was when I first started. So I got rid of anger and angry words and laziness in my life, for the most part. And I've added discipline and mental toughness, and I've also added a desire to improve myself. So every day I do something to try to improve myself. So I'll listen to a sermon, maybe read a Bible verse, maybe read a book, listen to a podcast. I try to do something every day that gives me a mental task for the day, almost like mental homework. Can I listen to maybe a lesson in a book about organization, and can I apply that today to my business? Can I listen to a book about leadership, and can I apply a lesson from that book today to the people I lead in this life? So that's something that I've added to my life, is a desire to improve myself every day. So yeah, I have days I miss here and there, traveling with family and friends or doing this and that. You might miss a day here and there, but for the most part, I try every single day to try to make myself a better person. So I've kept the core of who I am, but I've cleared away the clutter. And that has allowed me to shine through the best version of myself. Now, I'm still working on it, but I am proud of how far I've come. So, in your life, what would you get rid of? So I got rid of anger. I got rid of laziness. Not all the way, but I'm working towards getting rid of them. So what would you like to work towards getting rid of? What would you like to work towards adding to your life? So I added discipline and mental toughness, and I've added the desire to improve myself. What would you like to add? Now, for you to be aware of it, to get rid of something you want to get rid of, means you have to be open-minded to being told that it's something you need to get rid of. Okay, you have to accept the fact that you have it first to then be able to get rid of it. So I had to accept the fact that I had poor control over my emotions before I could then work to get rid of it. I had to accept the fact that I had laziness in me before I could take control to get rid of it. Are you open-minded enough to accept your faults? Okay? Do you actively seek out to find out what your faults are? Do you have a smelly friend, like a smelly kid friend? Do you have somebody that will tell you, okay, when you're doing something that is not aligned with your character? If you don't have that now, create it now. Do some self-reflection, do some journaling at the end of every day. And say, did I do anything today that I wasn't proud of? Did I do something today that I wouldn't want others to know about? If the answer is yes, you write down what that is. And you work towards changing it. Okay? So when you hear words about yourself that you think might be about you or they're directly about you, and they challenge who you are, step up to that challenge. Remain open-minded and think it through. Ask yourself, of what has been said, are there actions and words in my life that would make that true? If yes, am I okay with that being true? Does it align with who I want to be? If not, then change it. Okay? Now, if there's anything you would like help towards changing, and you're not sure how, reach out to us. Our email is brutalironjim@gmail.com. We'll help you out however best we can, okay? We'll find somebody that can know more about it than we do, and we'll help you out with them, getting you in touch with them, okay? But if you want help, it's here. Email us, brutalironjim@gmail.com, okay? If you like the podcast, please share it with family and friends. The more people we help, the happier the world will be. Also, if you like this information, you can find more from us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Brutal Iron Gym. And if you have any questions, feedback, and suggestions, we'd love to hear from you. The podcast is for you, so we want to know what you want to learn about. You can tell us at our email at brutalironGym@gmail.com. Okay? As always, I hope this was helpful. And thank you for listening. And thank you for watching.